Hello and welcome to Dad and Swebb Talk Sports. We are the dad and daughter duo talking about all of our favorite sports moments and teams. Dad, welcome to season 2.
Welcome, Swebb. How you doing?
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back.
I never went anywhere, Swebb.
I know, you don't really like to travel.
I haven't gone anywhere, but I've had a hard time keeping up with you. Where have you been, Swebb?
Have you missed me?
Yes, I have. Very much.
Okay, I almost believe that. Have you missed talking to me every week?
Yes, I have missed that.
That makes one of us.
Oh, man.
So
Where have you
we're
been,
here-
Swebb?
We're here for season 2. Let's fill the people in on what we've been doing this summer. What have you been doing this summer, Dad? Anything
I've been
fun that you want to fill people in on?
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of ball games, Swebb. Doing
Watching a
little
lot of
grilling.
ball games.
A lot of ball games. I watched the Olympics. I watched the ball games. And eating.
All right. Going for any walks around the neighborhood?
Huh?
Exercise?
No hablo inglés.
Oh, so you're taking Duolingo now.
Yes. What have you been doing, Swebb?
What haven't I been doing?
Oh, God.
I've been watching some ball games. There's been a lot this summer. There's been almost too much. I had to take a little bit of a break from the Yankees this past 2 months because the Olympics were going on, and I was enthralled with the coverage.
It was good coverage. It was.
And so if you're watching, let's call it 15 hours of the Olympics, there's no real time to squeeze in a 3-hour ball game.
Oh, well, I had the Olympics on the TV, and I had baseball on the computer, or vice versa. I got
I
everything.
didn't know that
in,
you knew
Swebb.
technology that well.
When it comes to watching stuff, I figure it out.
You type in all caps, but you know how to watch games on all different devices.
And with one finger. I'm the fastest one-finger typist in the country.
You are known to use a good emoji from time to time, so you've come a long way.
Thank you. Well, tell us about your trip to Paris.
My trip to Paris. Well, I almost didn't make it.
What happened?
Let's start from the beginning. So my job had access to tickets for the games. And as we talked about this spring, or very early in the summer before we took a break, I said, Mom and I are going to go. We decided we're going to go to Paris. We're going to see a few events. We were going to see women's gymnastics. We were going to see swimming, and I was able to get some tickets on the official secondary market for beach volleyball. So we'd planned all these things, but I forgot one very important thing,
What's that, Swebb?
and that was my passport. So I had my dinner reservations planned out, and I had mapped out, okay, swimming's taking place here. We're going to eat dinner somewhere on the way between our hotel and the venue. We're going to wrap up 2 hours before the event. We're going to travel the 20-30 minutes to the event. And then we're going to get there with about an hour left, just in case there are long lines. We'll still get to our seats before we get there. So I planned all these things. I had all of my outfits. This shirt I actually ordered for the Olympics. That was the only thing that I was missing from my wardrobe. Everything else, and I'll put up some pictures of Mom and I in Paris in my red, white, and blue. So I go to check in for my flight the morning of the flight. Well, the night before, I go to check in, and it says, see the desk agent. So I said, okay, I'm going to do it tomorrow morning on my computer because I was doing it on my phone. I was like, maybe something's wrong. I'll do it on my computer in the morning. See desk agent. So I look at my passport. It's expiring in 10 days. So it's supposed to expire about 5 days after I return from Paris. So I start calling around, and they say it's a 6-month. You can't go to Europe within 6 months of your passport expiring. Of course, I didn't know this. I had just gone to Mexico, where we were talking about tacos a few months prior, and let's call a spade a spade. You can get into this country any way you'd like without a passport. So I call the passport call center. They say, ma'am, we don't have an appointment for 3 to 4 days. I say, that doesn't really work for me because I'm going to the Olympics with my mom and I've always wanted to go. I think one girl even said it's just one central location and they can see all of the appointments for the whole entire country. And their passport agency is probably about 40 around the country. And one girl says, are you competing? And I didn't say, I should have said yes. But I said, no, I'm going with my mom. This is a lifelong dream. Can't do anything for me. So I was trying to hold out because mom gets a little nervous.
I'll say.
So I was trying to hold out. And then finally, a few hours into this saga, I text her and I say, we have a problem. Because mom is supposed to be flying to New York to meet me. We're supposed to take the same flight over to Paris and sit next to each other on the plane. And she says, call your office because your office is, you work for a sports agency. There are people going to the Olympics for your job. Maybe they know someone. So I call one of the girls in my office that handles a lot of the admin work. She gives me a number of this girl. I'm messaging with the girl back and forth, and she calls me when she's done with her meeting. So in that process, I'm still calling this passport agency. It explicitly says, do not go without an appointment. You won't be let in the building. So she calls me. She gives me 3 numbers. Everyone says it's going to take 3 to 4 days. That's the quickest we can get it. One guy calls me back. I had left a message for him. I said, I'm supposed to be flying to Paris tonight. Can you help me? And he calls me back. He says, you just got to keep calling because people will drop their appointments and you'll be able to get in. So I keep calling. I'm praying to God. At this point, I want to say that my heart is somewhere near my butt because I'm so nervous. I'm praying. I said, God, I know that this is a dumb prayer, and this is not the one that I should be coming to you with. But if I'm supposed to get to Paris, if I'm supposed to have this memory with my mom, can you please find a way? And I'm praying feverishly, and I'm like, Mom, come to New York. You're getting on that flight. I'm going to get there somehow. Do I go to the airport? Do I just try and get into the country illegally? And then do I get held up in immigration? You never know. But I'm like, I'm going to the Olympics. There's no way I can't go to the Olympics. We have all these reservations. All of my outfits, my hair is done. My nails are done. Everything is packed. I'm ready to go. So I decide, don't have an appointment. I'm just going to go down to the New York office and I'm going to cry to the security guard and I'm going to beg him to let me in and he'll feel sorry for me. This poor black girl going down there because she's going to the Olympics with her mom for the first time ever. So I turn the corner, and the security guard's an older man. I'm like, yes. Get up to the door. I say, I don't have an appointment, but I'm supposed to fly to Europe tonight to go to the Olympics. And he says, sorry, ma'am, you're not allowed in the building. I said, really? You can't even let me in just this time? He says,
poor girls don't go. Poor girls don't fly to Paris.
Right. He's like, we stopped taking appointments at 11. I said, but I'm supposed to go to Paris to the Olympics with my mom. He said, sorry, try calling. So I call again. They say that they have a flight and they have an appointment in Boston. And in a few of my calls, they said, oh, we have one in Colorado. But I'm like, it's 9 a.m. in New York right now. For me to get to the airport, get on a plane, if it were taking off immediately, I wouldn't get to Colorado in time to get the passport and then come back. So they say we have an appointment in Boston the next morning at 8:30 a.m. when the office opens. I say, okay. Luckily, there are also direct flights from Boston to Paris that night. So I say, all right, I'm going to do it. I decide I'm so defeated, so upset, so nervous. What is going to happen if this doesn't all work out and if I can't get my passport right away? I'm going to be screwed. I get home, order some food, and just watch TV for the rest of the night. Couldn't sleep all night. So now I wake up Friday morning. I'm taking a 6 a.m. flight to Boston. I forget when I wake up, I wake up in the middle of the night, and I said, oh my gosh, I don't even have a passport photo. So I Google a CVS. There's a CVS down the road from the passport agency in Boston, which is right by TD Garden. So I say, okay, I'm supposed to land in Boston at 7:15. My appointment's at 8:30. I'm going to take an Uber to the CVS, and then I'm going to walk from that CVS to the passport agency. We'll be good to go. Now there's traffic. Prior to taking off, the pilot was late. So each thing, I'm getting more and more nervous each step, but I'm going step by step. Get on the plane, check. Leave New York, check. Land in Boston, check. Get to the CVS, check. I walk into CVS, I say, I need a passport photo. I have an appointment in 7 minutes. The lady takes my photo. Of course, someone's using the Kodak machine. I'm like, listen, sir, I need to print out this photo right now. So I get my photos. They're a hot mess. I walk down the street to the agency. There's security guards. It's a government building, so there's metal detectors, all types of stuff. And the guy goes, oh, don't worry. No one's ever on time. And I look at him. I'm like, if you only knew what I've been dealing with for the past 24 hours, sir, like, just let me live. So I get to the passport agency. I walk into the building. I am at the counter. He says, oh, this happens all the time. There's probably people in this room right now that are traveling to Europe. We'll get you your passport in no time. I say, okay, well, I have this flight at 5 p.m. to Paris. Can you get it to me by like noon so that I can get back to the airport and, check in and all that stuff? He's like, oh yeah, no problem. So I go across the street to some pub. I have breakfast. While I'm eating breakfast, they call me. 30 minutes later, hey, we have your passport. Go back to the airport or back to the agency, pick up my passport, and go to the airport, sit in the airport for a few hours, and finally make it to Paris. And so Mom and I had planned one day to buffer us getting there. We were supposed to arrive the day of the opening ceremonies, and we were just going to gather ourselves, maybe rest up a little bit, and watch the opening ceremonies from the hotel. I end up watching that from the airport in Boston, but I made it to Paris without missing a single event that we had paid for, without missing a single reservation that we had. So I made it.
When all this was going on, I spoke to your brother. And he told me that he warned you about this possible scenario. That's what he told me. And being that my son always is on top of everything, I'm kind of understanding how this happened. And now I understand why you guys didn't invite me on the trip. Why didn't I get an invite on this trip?
Well, you didn't get an invite on this trip because, one, you don't like to leave the country. You don't like to travel, period. We've been off for 2 months. You haven't really done much traveling. And we also walked about 15,000 steps a day.
Well, I'm out on that one.
Yeah.
How was the food? How was the food over there?
The food was delicious. The croissants, the traditional French breakfast is you go, you sit at this cafe, you sit outside. I think one guy next to us was smoking a cigar and drinking a beer at 10:30 in the morning. But you have some fluffy eggs, a croissant, a fresh cup of coffee, freshly squeezed orange juice, and it's about 12 to 15 euro, which is about $20. Not a bad deal.
Any meat with those fluffy eggs?
You can order meat. Our hotel came with breakfast as well, so we did that. You can order, but that was like the traditional, like the breakfast special. But there were other things on the menu. But I like to start. I don't really eat breakfast that often. I usually will have a smoothie and I'll ease my way through the day. But obviously we were walking around. We didn't know when we were gonna get hungry again. So I didn't want to gorge myself like you would at a hotel buffet. But if I could start every morning with a fresh croissant and freshly squeezed orange juice, sign me up.
Okay.
Magnifique.
Now I'm glad I didn't miss anything. Okay, let's get down to some business here, Swebb.
Well, let's talk about the action. Let me
Go
just
ahead.
say, once I finally got to Paris, it was probably my favorite trip that I've ever been on. And I like to travel. I've been to some places. The whole entire experience was incredible. I'm obsessed with the Olympics. It was always a dream of mine to go. We saw beach volleyball. It was raining that night, but we still saw it. The setup right in front of the Eiffel Tower. Mom and I had never been to Paris either, so there was also that element of going to this city. It was on its best behavior. I've heard mixed reviews about Paris. It was clean. There were security guards everywhere. There were volunteers helping at all the metro stations. We had to take the metro just about everywhere that we wanted to go because it takes 20 to 30 minutes from our hotel or from venue to venue. So we did a little bit of sightseeing. We went to the Louvre, which was beautiful. Mona Lisa, completely overrated. So I would probably recommend people to not go to the Louvre if they're in Paris for a few days. But just the people were incredible. Everyone's wearing their different country colors. So you're waiting online at a restaurant in the bathroom or on the bathroom line, and someone says, "Oh, where are you from?" "I'm from Minnesota." "I'm from New York." "What events are you seeing?" "I'm seeing these." So it was just, everyone was in great spirits. We're watching beach volleyball and it's raining, and you don't even care because you're at the Olympics. The productions of the events live is also incredible because the beach volleyball that we saw was Brazil against Morocco, I think, and a men's beach volleyball match, and the women was China against Australia. We didn't know these athletes, but the announcers do a great job of saying, "Oh, this is the number 4 team in the world. They were in the silver medalists in Tokyo." Similarly, when we went to women's gymnastics, we saw the women's team qualifiers. So we saw Brazil, we saw Australia, and we saw a bunch of mixed groups of athletes trying to qualify for individual event finals. They do a great job of saying, Rebecca Andrade is the gold medalist in the vault from Tokyo. She's one of the best gymnasts in the world. So because everyone's competing at the same time, to turn your eyes to her. There was a gymnast from Belgium who was the gold medalist in the uneven bars. They tell you, hey, she's about to get on the bar, so to look over in that direction. And then swimming was awesome because there were event finals, so we got to see some gold medal races, and we saw some Americans. We didn't see any Americans actually win gold, but they won other medals. So it was it was an incredible job. It was very easy to get around. It was a great experience. The food was fantastic. Now I have the bug, and I want to go to Milan 26, the Winter Olympics.
Winter Olympics?
Yes.
It's going to be cold.
It's going to be cold, but I think I want to see curling, maybe some figure skating, some speed skating. I don't think I need to see the ski races because you really only see what happens down at the bottom of the mountain. But I think I'm going to try and go to that one. So that was the Olympics.
I'll wait for the Summer Olympics in Los Angeles in 28.
I'm a little hesitant about LA 28 because LA doesn't have public transportation. And so there's traffic. What'd you say?
They have 4 years to figure something out.
And you think that they're going to figure it out in 4 years?
They better, or it's going to be an embarrassment. Wow. How can you have millions and millions of people come to a city and you're not prepared?
They say that they're going
Paris was prepared.
They say that they're going to have buses brought in from other cities so that they can use a bus system to get people to and from.
We'll see. Better have some sharp business person organizing the whole thing.
So I am normally an optimist, but I'm also a realist, and I don't think, and I will eat my words if they're able to get the public transportation system in place. But LA has traffic on a random Tuesday afternoon, And there are also millions of people that live and work in the city, and they're trying to get around, right? And like Paris, there were other people in the city. So you can't completely close down the roads because then no one can get anywhere. And if it's only buses, then you have to wait for the buses to fill up. It's a nightmare. The nice thing about Paris is that they had a subway system, the metro. I was actually thinking New York would be a great city for the Olympics. I would love to run for governor and hire a few people to build out the bid for the summer games, because you have multiple modes of transportation. You have the subway system, you've got Long Island Railroad, you have Metro North, you have the New Jersey Transit, so you can get around easier. You can also make one thing that was incredible about Paris. I know it came across on TV because when I got back to the States, I watched everything. All of the venues were these historic locations. They were beautiful. They turned old museums into, the venue for fencing and all this, different events. LA, they have a ton of sports venues, but they don't really have all these historic skylines and old museums and things like that. But I think New York could do a great job. Imagine if you put a temporary stadium in Central Park for skateboarding or some other event that has a smaller footprint, and now you have the backdrop of the city. Imagine if you turn Yankee Stadium into a venue for a few events. Similarly, you've Citi Field. You'll have the soccer stadium for NYCFC. You'll have the U.S. Open venue that you can turn into not only tennis, but you can have a bunch of different events taking place there. So I am a believer that it should be in New York, and anyone who wants to join me in that bid, let's come up with a plan, because I don't think that LA is going to be a logistical success.
Well, are you breaking news saying that you're going to throw your hat into the race for governor the next time?
Would you vote for me?
Yes, I would.
Will
I'll be
you
a
harvest
campaign
some
manager.
ballots
I'll
to
make
get
sure
everyone else to vote for me?
I'll make sure you get elected.
That means I have to stay living in New York now.
This state desperately needs you.
I'll consider it.
Desperately.
Would you stay in New York?
Huh?
Because you can't vote for me if you're not a New York resident.
If you were governor, I would stay in New York.
Okay. Everyone heard it here first. Okay, so let's talk about some things that happened this summer that we didn't get to cover while we were recording. The Olympics were great. I'll put up some photos and things like that. Some summer headlines. Dad, quick reaction to a few things that happened this summer that we didn't get to cover on the podcast. First up, Jalen Brunson gets named the Knicks captain.
He deserves it. He deserves it. It would have been nice. I have some Knicks friends and fans that said, well, maybe they should have done a co-captain thing and made Julius Randle also the captain, be co-captain. Like your brother was co-captain with another fella when he was a senior in college. Maybe it would have been nice to have both of them. We'll see how that works. We'll see how that works out.
Interesting take. Okay.
But Brunson is definitely a leader.
Yes, he is definitely a leader.
And he re-signed. He got an extension and took a lot less money. But so did Randall the last time he signed. And I think they have a few other guys on this team that are going to be taking less money than they could get just to keep. This is a real team. Knicks, they have good guys on this team.
Jalen Brunson taking less money this summer kind of reminds me of another captain in New York, Derek Jeter, doing that for many years in a lot of his contract negotiations. So these are things that leaders do to make sure that the owners have enough money to be able to fill up a full roster of talent. And the way that not only he plays on the court, but the way that he handles the media, the way that he holds himself accountable, the way he holds everyone else accountable. Those are the things you want to see in your captain. And so I'm excited. It's very well deserved, and I'm excited to see the Knicks this season, this fall.
Yep.
Sticking with the Garden, Sam Rosen, longtime Rangers announcer, is retiring at the end of the Rangers 24-25 season.
That man is a tremendous announcer. And it's a shame. There's so many of these older announcers that are icons are leaving, retiring. John Sterling woke up one morning a few months ago and decided he couldn't do it anymore, 85 years old. And there's a major drop-off when these icon announcers retire. A major drop-off because for some reason the talent that's coming up isn't very talented in a lot of cases.
We talked about this, I think, in the car at one point this summer where we were going somewhere, that a lot of the new up-and-coming announcers are trying to be someone who they grew up idolizing instead of being themselves. And so it almost seems like an imitation of an announcer that you've grown to love. We talked about this. We were talking about the Yankees because of John Sterling retiring. You just those voices that the minute that you hear it, you're watching a Rangers game. The excitement is authentic. And the one thing that I really love about a Sam Rosen and also a John Sterling is like the team's not playing well. They still weave that into the broadcast without completely crapping on the team. They still weave in what they're seeing and how they're feeling about the team not playing well. John Sterling was just at the Yankee game a few weeks ago or last week, I think.
Old-timers Day.
No, it was his specific day where they were already getting set to honor him before he retired.
Right.
And he came up to the booth for an inning, and there was some bad boneheaded plays on the field, and he was just like, oh boy. And it was one of those things that we were all thinking when you're watching these games. And so I love that the announcers that have been around for years, that have been the voice of our favorite teams, the voices of our favorite teams, are also not afraid to say something bad when they see something bad happen, which you don't always see anymore.
Yeah. And there's rumors that he's going to come out of retirement for the playoffs and do the playoffs. We'll see. But when I was growing up, every baseball team had great announcers. Pittsburgh had Bob Prince. St. Louis Cardinals had Joe Buck. That's Joe Buck's father.
The Milwaukee Brewers had Bob Uecker.
Right. And these guys were tremendous. And you say, well, in New York, how did you hear these guys? Because you heard them. And Atlanta had a guy named Milo Hamilton. You heard, at night in the car, a lot of times you could pick up frequencies from other states and other cities. And you hear these guys. These guys were like Hall of Fame announcers.
You're aging yourself, picking up frequencies. For some of the younger listeners, that's the radio in the car. It wasn't satellite.
It wasn't satellite. It was AM radio.
Right. And I recall a few times being out of New York and you waiting for it to be nighttime and for the Yankee game to come on so that we could hear the Yankee broadcast if we were like in Pennsylvania or Maryland or something.
Right. How do you think, growing up, I listened to all the Carolina games on the radio, North Carolina games on the radio, WBT Charlotte. At night, you could get the games right. While I was doing my homework, I was listening to the game on 11:10, WBT Charlotte. Tremendous.
This is what I like about you. You're dedicated to the craft.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so going back to the Olympics, Team USA ends up with 126 medals during the Summer Olympics, tied with China for 40 golds, leading the way. What were some of your favorite moments from the Olympics, Dad?
Well, the swimming, winning. I'm all about winning, Swebb. The track and field was tremendous. Our track team did a tremendous job.
They had the best meet that I have seen in a very long time. So it's nice when the games are in Europe or something, or at least not too far away in terms of the time difference. So once I got back from Paris and I was forced to watch on TV or on my phone, I would have my phone up in my office and I would be doing work, but I always had the coverage on. And the track meet there were some big time races with Americans getting medals in distance races that they normally don't even come close to sniffing the medal stand. And I would start to scream or cheer or something or squeal, whatever it might be. And then I just finally had to let my team know. I said, just so you know, the Olympics is on my phone right now, because if you don't, you'll get spoiled. If you're waiting for primetime coverage, you will inevitably go on Instagram or go on Twitter and you will know what happened. Simone Biles, every single time she did something, I knew what happened before I even saw it. So it was like, we're just going to watch it so that I don't get spoiled. But man, track and field was an incredible meet.
It was incredible, and they did a great job. When you see these athletes dedicate their lives, and some of these American athletes that were winning have full-time jobs, part-time regular jobs. They're not like 18-year-old kids anymore. They're grown people into their mid and late 20s, and they work. Some of them are married, have families. The dedication is incredible. The dedication's incredible.
That's what I love about the games is you get all these little stories. That's one thing you don't get when you're actually
Right.
at the games in another country where the TV coverage is in French and only following French athletes. You don't get the little stories, the backstories, the trials and tribulations, the features where their families are involved or their parents are involved. I just love the camaraderie of the Olympics because it felt like old times. Tokyo was a wash because of COVID, and it was nice to be able to watch things, but it didn't have the camaraderie. Like, remember when Michael Phelps was going for 8 gold medals and everyone was watching every swimming race? And that's what it felt like again. And so I miss it. I miss it. There's a huge void. Ever since the second week of August, I've been longing for the Olympics.
Swebb, we got college football starting tonight. We've got NFL football starting next weekend. We got baseball. We got all kinds of action going on, Swebb.
We do have action. And before we jump into some college football, the last story of the summer, Aaron Judge is not a human. He's leading the league in home runs. He's got 51 home runs at the time of us recording on Thursday night, leading the league. It's August, and he's got 51 home runs. He's got 123 RBIs, also leading the league, and he's second in batting average at .333.
He's incredible. He's incredible. My favorite player of all time was Mickey Mantle, and he's starting to get real close to what I saw Mickey Mantle do. The difference is he doesn't have any World Series rings yesterday, and Mickey Mantle had a bushel full. Aaron Judge is an incredible player. And he keeps his mouth shut. He doesn't yap. He's humble. He doesn't get in any trouble. And he's a leader. He runs that team.
He is a great leader. Similarly to what we mentioned with Jalen Brunson and Derek Jeter, he is a great captain. The truly incredible thing about Aaron Judge is he didn't start off the season hot. He came into spring training and he was leaving spring training a little bit hurt. So he didn't start off the season that strong and has just come on. And I think at some points during the season, you think at some point he's going to kind of equal and balance out and he's not going to continue to dominate the way that he has, because sometimes besides Juan Soto, the Yankees lineup can be invisible. So you almost think at some point he's going to be a very good player, but he's not going to be this guy who's hitting a home run every day. And it's not just that he's hitting home runs, which is often something that the Yankees lineup has been great at for the past couple of seasons, but the average is usually low, and there is also a ton of strikeouts and everything. So for him to have a batting average at .333 with 51 home runs, that's incredible. I looked, and his slugging percentage is .731, which is like 100 points higher than the second best slugging percentage in the league. So the fact that he's getting on base, I mean, this is even better than I could have imagined that he could play. This is better than when he hit 62 home runs a few seasons ago.
And he plays center field, and he plays great defense.
Right.
We'll see.
Should we talk about some college football?
Yes. I'm not wearing this shirt for my health, Swebb.
There's a lot of bad press around Michigan.
What are you talking about?
Some sketchy sign stealing things that they were dealing with last year, but the talk is that Jim Harbaugh left because Michigan was doing some not so good things.
He talked because he got a big contract. He wanted to go back to the NFL.
Okay, so what are you predicting is going to happen this season for Michigan? Who do they start the season off against? Fresno State?
Fresno State, 7:30 Eastern Time, NBC, Saturday night, from the Big House.
Now, do they have, because they've had they won last year with a bunch of upperclassmen. Their starting quarterback obviously goes in the NFL draft this past spring.
First round pick.
What was he, 8 or 9? I know he just got hurt, and so he's out for the season. But this is, do they have what it takes to beat Ohio State again for the, fourth year in a row?
First of all, they had about 13 guys drafted. They had guys that didn't even get drafted that still made the team, that made NFL teams. The Jets got one of their off defensive linemen, McGregor, did not get drafted, had a great training camp. He made the team, defensive end. That team was loaded.
So you're not predicting a back-to-back?
No, I don't make predictions.
National
First of all,
run.
they're going with an unproven quarterback, and they have all young quarterbacks. So we got to see what happens. They're going to have a good running game. They still have a real good offensive line. They still have a good defensive line, and they have a good secondary. We'll see what happens.
And they have a tough schedule.
And remember, they have a very tough schedule.
The conference realignment, you have teams like Oregon, USC, UCLA, Washington coming into the Big Ten. So it's going to take some getting used to, but when it comes to football, those are some big-time schools that'll make it very tough. And, of course, they're playing Texas, so their non-conference schedule is also very tough.
Yeah.
The Big Ten and the SEC are going to be some difficult conferences to get out of. I think you're going to see 2, 3, maybe even 4 teams from each conference end up getting into the college football playoffs with the realignment and the restructure of that as well.
Yep.
And
Long
Miami
term, I don't know if all that
faces
realignment's
Florida.
gonna be. What's that?
Miami will take on Florida at 3:30 on Saturday. I was actually shocked.
Miami's supposed to be real good.
I know. I was shocked to see them at ranked 19. I'm going to be honest. It's been...
Before you went there.
It's been a while. 16 years.
Longer than that. You went there in 2004.
Okay. Well,
they were
why
good,
don't you calm down with aging me? All
sorry.
Right?
Sorry, Swebb.
I was thinking about when I graduated. It's been about 20 years. Yes, 20 years. When I was deciding to go there, they were the belle of the ball in college football, and they have been mediocre, underwhelming, sometimes good, but then underwhelming, sometimes bad, just flat out bad. So I was shocked to see that they were ranked 19 because I got to set my expectations low. You see what happened last year with the Jets. I set my expectations high because we signed Aaron Rodgers, and then it's like, so I'd like to undersell and overdeliver. And so I'm also going to expect less and hope for the best. Okay?
That might be the best way to go. I've learned that with the Jets over the years.
So let's regroup after week 1, and I might be singing a different song. I don't know, but I would sure hope that Miami, game number 1 of the season on national television on ABC at 3:30 against your in-state rival, I sure hope that they show up because they've been known to bomb out on a few of those games.
Where is that game going to be played?
That game, I believe, is in Gainesville.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah, it's in Gainesville. So.
Ooh. We've been to that stadium.
Yeah.
That's 90,000 screaming fans.
But Florida isn't ranked. So we'll see. I have low expectations. But anyways, we obviously just kicked off season 2 of the podcast. We have a ton more things to talk about as we get into the fall. College football, we know that you'll be living by every game every Saturday. The NFL is starting in a week. Then we'll get into Knicks and Rangers, and we've got the playoffs coming up. There's a month left to the MLB seasons. So there is a ton to talk about. And we clearly both like to talk. So we're just going to wrap up this first episode of season 2 with a dad tip of the week.
Well, this time of the year, like Swebb just mentioned, you have baseball, you have college football, you have NFL, hockey training camp start in about 2 weeks. You have NBA getting ready to start in about a month. This time of the year, Swebb, you need at least 2 TVs side by side and a computer so you can watch a few different things all at one time. That's how you got to do it, Swebb. You can't go these onesie, twosie. You got to be able to see action at the same time. That's my tip of the week, Swebb. Go out and invest in another TV set.
But you got to do it right. You can't have 2 small TVs, all right? If you're going to do it the right way.
Hey, the price of these TVs have come down so much, you can get...
no 20 inchers.
No, that's hard to see. But you could get yourself a good 32-inch, Webb.
No.
45?
Don't talk to me unless it's 50 or above. You're going to need that with those glasses you've got on.
Oh, man.
And my tip is check your passports.
Yes.
And that concludes this week's episode of Dad Swebb Talk Sports. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to like our channels, subscribe on YouTube and Rumble, and share this episode with friends. We are going to be bigger and better this season. We're excited. We're excited that we're back. We're excited for all the sports. Who needs the Olympics when you've got a whole bunch of football and all of our teams getting ready to kick off their seasons or the peak of their seasons? So we'll see you next week.
So long.
Thank you for tuning in to Dad Swebb Talk Sports, the show where we cover all of our favorite sports moments from the past week. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and Rumble and follow us at Dad Swebb on Instagram and X. See you next week.